Hello, good evening, everybody. Get my thing going here. My phone stand. Y'all tap live. I'm glad you all are here. I hope you all enjoyed the last town hall we had. It was awesome. Let me get my background here. I hope you all are staying warm. I hope you all are staying warm and get my hair situated here. I hope you all are staying warm, getting prepared for the snowstorm and everything. Hey, Amanda, long time no hear. Yeah. I hope you all are taking care of yourselves. Oh no, Mike almost got blown off the road. You gotta be careful, especially up there in Wisconsin. I know how y'all weather is. Y'all can keep that up there, cause you're picking your daughter up from school. Would you have time to come up, or are you in a? Because I want to make sure you're safe. I don't want you up here and you're trying to do your daddy duties. The wind started blowing negative. Oh, y'all can keep that. I've been there, done that with y'all. Let me tell you, I do not want to go back to that. I mean, I miss. That was an hour ago. Okay, so are you ready, Mike? I'm gonna send you invite because Mike. Look, let me tell you something. Mike is ready. Okay, Mike is so ready. How you doing, Mike?
I am well. I just need to get my background up and running.
Okay.
I had it up earlier. Let's see. And there you are. There's your background. The problem is I'm so tall. It it pretty much goes over the entire thing. But
how tall are you, Mike? How tall are you?
I am 6'2". Yeah. Yeah, I'm a big dude. You see me when I come in the room.
I won't miss. I'd be like, oh, there's a tree over there. That's Mike. Okay.
Yeah.
But how you doing, Mike? How you been?
I'm doing great. I'm indoors. I mean, I could be out there trying to canvas and, losing digits. It's genuinely dangerous outside right now.
I know, because man, like I said before, my husband was stationed in Minnesota, in Minneapolis, and we did go to Wisconsin Dells. I love the Wisconsin Dells.
That's just north of me.
Okay, I love it. So you're in that area. It's like a sweet spot for me. But y'all can keep that coldness up there. Y'all can keep it.
I mean, I like it. And then every January, pretty much, every once in a while, there'll be a January where we had -50 about 5 years ago, maybe 6 years ago. And I had a dog at the time who was half Siberian Husky, and he just loved it. So he wanted to go outside all the time. And I'm somewhere rattling around. I'll have to find it. I have a picture of me and my daughter, and I look like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. I've got like goggles on and the full suit. And even then, it was cold through that. Like it was just you couldn't escape it. Every breath felt like knives.
Look, those huskies are dramatic. I want one. They are dramatic. They're
He
like
was one of the
humans in
best dogs I
fur.
ever had.
Humans in
He was
fur.
Yeah, he was one of the best dogs I ever had. I missed that boy.
I
He
bet.
was he was a good boy.
I bet.
Um, my wife insisted that we get another dog after he passed, and he
Oh.
his the dog I got is a lot less eager to go outside, but he shares the border collie traits, so he basically herds the cats around the house.
Oh.
I'm getting ready for going to Congress. I can see what herding cats is like ahead of time.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you all for joining. OVC, we have, okay, I'm gonna try it.
I'll give you
Heidenreich. Heidenreich.
hi
Heidenreich.
Heidenreich.
Heidenreich. I was almost there. I was almost
I,
there.
I'm going to have to do. I don't know if you saw last year we had a Supreme Court justice who ran a campaign, and she had a really successful video that was basically just how to pronounce her last name, because her last name is Protasewicz. But it worked because people actually watched it and thought it was cute. It was engaging. And I was like, okay, I've got to do that, because otherwise no one's going to know how to pronounce my name except for very German people. I
Right,
mean,
right.
it's very popular over in Germany, I guess.
Really?
The last time I got an invite to a family reunion over in Germany, I think they filled a soccer stadium. Oh yeah, there was like 14,000 invites on that email, so it was a lot. I was like, I
Oh,
really wish I could afford to go there,
wow.
because that'd be cool.
That's awesome. Wow, that's crazy. But I think Michael, you want to call me Michael, Mike?
Let's go with Mike. If you say Mike, unless you really want to, but if you say Michael, I'm gonna look around for my mom. Like
Okay.
I just actually got my birthday gift from her. She gave me a pan of cheesecake, which, oh, it's the best. It is legitimately, like, the whole family talks about this and waits for her to make it, and
Then it's
she
good.
did. Oh, she did such a bang up job. I got it home and in the fridge, and I was kind of trying to hide it. And my daughter came home. She's like, "Is that Nana's cheesecake?"
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. When they find it,
I'll
that's
be lucky
it.
if it's still down there, and I wouldn't even blame her, because I understand it's that good. But yeah, I would look around, because I think the only person who really ever called me Michael was my mom.
Oh, okay. So Mike. Okay, cool. All right, we have Mr. Mike here, from Wisconsin, District 6. I have so many questions about your district, because woo, here's a lot of stuff.
I tell people it's like a rectangle in between Green Bay and the bottom two corners would be Milwaukee and Madison. So like it's basically like the east side of the state in the
Okay.
middle of the state. So like the upper part is Appleton, and below Green Bay, and the lower part, I'm in the far southwest corner of my district. If I went another 3 miles west, I would be in District 3.
Oh,
So
wow.
I'm like, everywhere I go in my district is a drive. Like, I went to Sheboygan the other day after going to La Crosse the day before. Those are on the borders of our state. So I drove basically like 8 hours in those 2 days.
Wow.
Well, I felt it was important because
Yeah.
Pete Buttigieg was holding a town hall in La Crosse. And there were a lot of people there from Minnesota. And I felt it was important to listen to hear what they had to say.
Right.
Because I know people from Minnesota, and I hadn't reached out to any of them prior to this. It was right after the beginning of the year, and everything that's been happening.
Yeah.
I felt like it would be a good idea to get some actual awareness from people who are nearby.
Mm-hmm.
And oh my God, it was more than I was expecting.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think when the two ladies who spoke, who were from Minnesota, I don't think there was a dry eye in the room. And it was hard to listen to.
I bet.
Because it was just like everyone in there was thinking, okay, is this going to happen in our district next?
Right.
Is this going to happen in our state next?
Right.
Because that sounded horrific. And yeah.
Absolutely. We're going to get more into that as well. But I want to welcome you. I want to welcome the audience in the chat. Thank you so much. What I want you to do, I want you to share out right now to whoever, wherever, because this young man here, Mike, he's been with us, I want to say day one. You've been like in our chat, and you've been conversing with the candidates and with us. So we consider you like the OVC family, really, basically. So we want to welcome.
I tried to get out and talk to people, and the nice thing about TikTok is it gets you in touch with a group of people and an age of people that I can go out and talk to people, but unless people of that age group show up, they won't necessarily have their views represented. And that's one of the biggest reasons why I want to show up here, is because it's not just one age group that should be able to have their views represented. It's
absolutely
everybody. And this way their vote actually does count.
I totally agree. So what we're going to do, we're going to welcome everybody. Please share it out. Please like the live. Thank you for the gifts. Please gift Mr. Mike here. You can gift me too, but also gift the host. OVC, thank you so much for having this town hall with Mr. Mike, who is representing House of Representative District 6 and in Wisconsin. And I'm going to tell you more about OVC. So OVC, Our Vote Counts, is a nonpartisan coalition of citizens from diverse states and backgrounds united by a shared commitment to empowering voters and promoting candidates who stand for integrity like Mike here and accountability in the upcoming elections. Formed by a collective of educators, veterans, small business owners, students, and community advocates, Our Vote Counts represents the strength and unity across geography, race, and ideology. While our stories are different, our mission is the same: to ensure that every voice is heard and every vote truly counts. So Our Vote Counts is more than a name. It's a promise of movement and a rallying cry for democracy. Together, we are shaping the future, one informed vote at a time. So once again, we want to welcome Mike to OVC. He is running for House Representative in Wisconsin, District 6. If you want to know what, I have my notes here, what District 6 is made of, I'm gonna tell you, because I had a laugh. I'm sorry, I had a laugh at the names. So we have Oshkosh. Okay, Oshkosh, which is a manufacturing, higher education. You got aviation, working class families, correct, in that area?
Yeah, the EAA is there.
Oh, okay. And you got Fond du Lac.
Fond du Lac.
Dang it, Fond du Lac. Oh, okay.
A lot of the names are either Native American or French, because that's who originally was in the area, and so they got to name everything. And so, yeah, we've just grown up saying we've grown up saying things like Oconomowoc and Waukesha, and it just comes off the tongue, and then all of a sudden someone will come in and look at us like, what? What did you just say?
Okay, so you got Fond du Lac,
Fond du
right?
Lac.
Okay, so
Fond du
that's a
Lac. Yep.
manufacturing, healthcare, agricultural hub in that area.
That is one of the major cities in the area, and I'm actually holding a town hall there on Saturday night in person at the IBEW Town Hall or
Okay,
Union Hall.
this is my favorite one.
Which,
Oh, okay. I see you got the shirt representing. Okay. This is my favorite, Sheboygan. What is
exactly right. That was
Sheboygan?
the last town hall we had before this was in Sheboygan.
Okay, so that's like
So
where
that is the
Lake Michigan.
Malibu of the Midwest. They actually have
Oh,
surfing there. It's on Lake Michigan.
wait, you said
we do it this
surfing?
time. Yeah, because they get lots of waves. Lake Michigan is huge. Like, people don't understand. It's basically an inland sea. And so they get waves that are big enough to surf on. So they have a pretty active. I know it sounds ridiculous, and even the people in Sheboygan find it ridiculous, but it is the Malibu of the Midwest because people surf there. I've
Okay, so
seen
that's
them
why
do
it's like
it.
a tourism. So it's like where tourists go and everything.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And you got West Bend, which
Yep. I've
is
lived there.
in West
West
Bend. So that's
Bend, it's like it's Washington counties. It's kind of it's not the county seat, but it kind of is. There's a lot of people who live there. There used to be a UW college there, a extension that I actually attended for a little while, and unfortunately, I believe it's closed now. I still have a lot
okay.
of friends there.
All right. Well, I had fun. I love Sheboygan. I guess because of the name, because it's like
It's
it's
a
an odd
really great
name.
town.
Like what is like who named it that? Like what is a Sheboygan?
When I went to Manitowoc, which is also a town directly above Sheboygan, and
Hmm.
I went to Manitowoc and Sheboygan for No King's Day, for No King's 2, and Sheboygan, like, I drove into town, I was like, where is everybody? Like, it was a ghost town. And then you were driving towards the water, and there's this triangle between three streets that is kind of like where the main street for the town goes to. And as you got closer, you could just, I had my windows down, and you could just hear it. You could just hear it. And all of a
Wow.
sudden you get over the hill, and I look over, and I'm like, oh, there's like 10,000 people there.
Oh
And
wow.
it seemed like every single person was either standing on that block, or they were honking as they drove past. And not, I mean, there was maybe three or four people who were like yelling at people as they drove past. Everyone else was like, they were honking in support. And I was like, hell yeah, that's the kind of town I enjoy coming to, where they understand the assignment, and
That's
they
what's up.
understand the kind of thing we're all in right now. And they showed up, and they that was a good day. That was a fun day. Actually, my if you go on most of my like my Facebook page,
Hmm.
that picture that's my banner was taken that day. I was listening
Okay.
to a couple people talk to me, and one of the guys from my campaign snapped that picture.
Gotcha. So I'm gonna do a little intro of yourself, Mike, and you can tell us the rest. So you're running for House Representative in District 6, and you were born and raised in Wisconsin, and you grew up understanding the challenges facing working families. Um, you're a union worker, you're a husband and
No,
a father, but you're not a career politician. So can you give us an insight of who is Mike? Um,
I mean,
I don't
that's
want to. I don't want to stab
pretty.
your last name again. But who is Mike?
It's okay. And I'm really looking forward to doing that video because I think it'll help a lot of people. So I I have been working in politics or volunteering in politics. I've never gotten paid for politics, but I've been working in politics since I was 18 years old. I almost right out of high school was like, this is something I want to help. I want to make things better for people. And I went to West Bend, and you got to understand, Washington County, where West Bend is, it's quite conservative. At least it was back then, and I'm pretty sure it still is pretty conservative. I was going to house after house canvassing, and it was all, "You're a Democrat?" Like they genuinely were confused why I was a
wow.
Democrat. But I showed up and I did volunteering and canvassing, and then I moved to Madison, and I met my wife, and we were dating, and right around that time I was involved with a campaign for a young senator at the time, Barack Obama, and I just was like, they gave us the tools to do our jobs and then said, go do it. Go do it. And I had never really been in a position of like, it's just on me. It's just, I have to do this now. And hey, Siobhan. And it was amazing. Like we had 300 volunteers under us in a tiny section of Madison by the end of it, where we were going out canvassing every single day, and we were putting in 80-hour days, and we celebrated that win in 2008 in a union hall. And I was looking around, I was like, this is a nice place. And that was IBEW Local 965 when they were still at their old headquarters. And that was about 2-3 years. Actually, no, almost 5 years before I even joined the union. And then I joined the union because I started working at Alliant. And when I joined, I was like, I've been to this union hall before. That was where I joined up. When I started working my job that I work now, I've been a union member for, it'll be 17 years in February. And when I started working this job, it's all the time. And I had to step back from politics for a little while because I needed to take care of my family. I needed to earn money and support my family. And I got to a point where I started to see some of the things happening. I mean, Donald Trump getting elected was a big, oh wait, hi, you might not be able to ignore this. Like, this is going to be a problem. And I got somewhat involved with politics, but I didn't really have an on-ramp again. Like, I didn't have a obvious I want to help moment until one of my neighbors heard that I used to volunteer, and she's like, hey, one of your neighbors across the bay is running for, at the time, state assembly. And I was like, oh, cool, I'll go help. And then they redistricted, and that's why my neighbor across the bay is now my state senator. And we actually, like, what we thought at the time was a pretty conservative area, we swept state assembly, state senate. The only race we didn't win in 24 that we were trying to win here was, unfortunately, Kamala Harris. And we put as much time and as much sweat and tears into that as we could. Absolutely. And it sucked to lose, but I realized at that point, when Donald Trump got back in, I was like, I can't just let this go if there's something else I can do. And what I can do is get behind the microphone and be a candidate, because there are things we're not addressing. Because the candidates that are getting in, ever since we got to Citizens United, the candidates who are getting in are often the rich. And that's it. Because those are the only people who can get in. And I'm not rich. I work for a living. I actually used all my vacation last year and probably will this year again, just to be able to have off enough to run. And it's also the only time I have not worked like 1,000 hours of overtime. It was these last 2 years. So I'm trying to put in everything I can to make sure that I can represent this district. because I feel like we deserve that representation, and I don't feel like we're getting it. And that's not just from Democrats. Even the Republicans don't feel like they're being represented now. And it shows. It showed at the last town hall that Glenn Grothman held before he basically got booed off the stage. It was a disaster for him in terms of they basically said, no, we're not doing this anymore. I don't think a single Republican has held a live town hall since then. Once.
Yeah.
They've held like fundraisers that they could screen who was coming in. They've held virtual town halls that we tried to call into, but like the only people who got in were asking pre-screened questions. And it was a joke. And we deserve better than that. So I decided I'm going to do this, and I've been putting my all into it ever since.
Well, thank you, Mike. I really appreciate you running and representing your district. Before we go, we want to do like a little, we already had an icebreaker, but we're going to do like a little fun one. So I want you to go back in time when you were a little kid on Saturdays, and you would see your favorite cartoon. What was your favorite cartoon, your favorite character that you was like, man, I want to be this superhero or this character? And why did it influence you then? Oh, and does it still influence you now?
Transformers, Optimus Prime. It is the right of all sentient beings to have freedom. And hell yeah, it does. Like I watched I watched for any 80s kids out there, I watched the original Transformers movie, the cartoon.
Yes.
And when it came out, did you see that? Do you remember being traumatized in the theaters because they basically murdered all the original OG characters within the first like 5 minutes? And kids were like, oh my God.
State of shock, yes.
Because they wanted to sell different toys. So I see Captain Planet in the comments. That was awesome too.
Yes,
I thought that was amazing.
Yeah, when they murdered Jazz, I was like, okay, I'm done. Yeah, that was hurtful.
Yeah, it was rough.
Well, we're gonna go into economic development. So like many households in Oshkosh, Sheboygan, Fond du Lac, and West Bend, they have two earners making similar wages, correct? Like when they marry, they combined income.
Yeah, we're all pretty much almost everyone I know, both the wife and the husband, or the boyfriend and the girlfriend, or whoever it is,
right?
Work.
And that will push them in higher tax bracket.
It's not because it pushes them in a higher tax bracket, it's because we just can't afford to. I mean, people can't afford to live unless both people are working. And it's one of the reasons why a lot of people roll their eyes when people are like, well, when are you going to have kids? Or why aren't you having kids?
Yeah.
And we're like, how? How can you afford to? I have a union job that I work my behind off at, and that is how I could afford to, but that's not available to everybody. Those don't grow on trees, and they've been doing everything they can to suppress union membership in this state. And because of that, it's causing real issues that are affordability and the ability to have enough money just to live are probably some of the biggest issues that I see as something I have to affect. And that ties into everything. That ties into healthcare. That ties into your ability to get housing. We have people who right now cannot get a place to rent. Not just can't afford to, because that too, but they can't even get one because there is not a big enough supply of housing that is at all affordable by any jobs that they have. And so you see a lot of people whose kids are like, I want to move out and I want to start my own life, but how am I going to afford it? And every once in a while, someone will say, well, just do this. And it's like, yeah, there's one of those thises,
Right.
and there's 200 people trying to do it.
Right.
And the only one exists. And it's like, we know that people want to work hard and be able to support their families and be able to do all these things, but they can't do it if the situations don't exist. Right. And in many cases, they don't. And that's among the things I want to work on as a congressman. That's where I'm aiming to go, is because otherwise we have a whole generation that doesn't look at the ability to get a house or the ability to support a family as a realistic goal. I mean,
go ahead. No, because the reason why I asked is I was looking at this thing called a marriage penalty. I was wondering, like, how do marriage penalties hurt workforce participation and family stability?
Doing marriage penalty.
So it happens when two people pay more taxes and lose benefits after getting married. I never heard this before. I was reading this in an article by a past constituent.
Marriage penalty.
Yeah, and they said it can affect federal income taxes, health insurance subsidies, child care credit, student loan repayment, other benefits like housing, nutrition, and healthcare support.
I mean, that's when you file like jointly, that would increase your tax bracket. So it could push you into a higher tax bracket, but I mean, that's really only for very high earners. I mean, playing around with tax brackets is a luxury that you get when you're making that much. And a lot of people, like, the people who are making a decent living, and there exists quite a bit of them. My neighborhood's relatively well off. Like, I'm probably the poorest house on the street.
Oh,
like
stop
everyone
it.
else around here, they're not worrying about that. I live in a nice place. I love where I live.
Right.
Other than the fact that it's on top of a hill, and when we have an ice storm, it is a genuine, like, you're all going to die kind of danger, because like, you can't get off the hill. but other than that, like, this is an amazing place to live, and I love it. But I recognize that you need to be making good money to live here. And there are a entire group of people, a very large group, that would not be able to afford a house around here. And I don't see a path for them to do that existing right now. And that's that kind of, just move here and you'll be able to afford it. That's not, there aren't that many here's anymore.
Right.
Like, places that used to be, you could rent an entire house for $800. That used to be something you could do in Portage. I don't see as many rentals there that are under 1,000 now. And they're generally not a house. They're generally like an apartment. And even then it's over $1,000 in a lot of cases. House on a hill sounds nice. It is until you have to get down the hill.
Yeah, especially when it's ice and snow. Been there, done that. It's not a nice look.
But to be honest with you, this was the only house available. It wasn't like I had a whole bunch of places I was looking at the time. This is the only place I could find at the time, and we needed to move out of our rental property at the time because the guy was selling it. Like, this was right after the financial crash in 08. And so things were starting to come back where people were actively purchasing homes. So the housing market was taking off again. And this was during the Obama years. And it really, I was reading some of the
Mm-hmm.
comments
Yeah.
in the chat because there aren't many starter homes. There aren't many places that people can just go because we let we basically let big business start using every section of our life to make
Mm.
profit. Uh, and a lot of them are purchased by hedge funds. So you'll
Oh,
see
wow.
they look at it as an investment and they can write it off as a loss when they aren't selling it
Mhm.
and keep the prices artificially high when they're trying to sell it. And this is something that's been happening. This isn't just a Wisconsin problem. This is an across the country problem.
Mhm.
Um, some things they've been trying to do, one of the big issues with the rental properties being so high, how do you, let's say you want an apartment. How would
Mhm.
you go look for an apartment? Probably go to rent.com or some
Zillow.com or yeah.
Zillow.com, some
Mhm.
website like that. Now, think what that means. All those apartments are listed on those like websites.
Mhm.
They offer services to landlords to not only list their apartment, but also set the price of the apartment.
Mhm.
Now, it's illegal for landlords to band together and raise all the prices together if the landlord does it. But
Right.
not too long ago, several attorneys general across the nation were suing some of these sites because they basically were artificially inflating the price of
Right.
housing
Mhm.
across. I mean, Phoenix, Arizona, I think had like 90% of their homes were listed on one site, and no one could rent a place because they all kept going
It was
up.
hijacking it. It was hijacking those prices up. And like you said, how can you tell someone, well, you need to do this? Well, there's only one thing, and where? This is where, where this is. And speaking of where, so do you support federal manufacturing incentives like Create Jobs Act? And how would you ensure small and mid-sized manufacturers in your district benefit, not just large corporations?
I want to see the specific act you're referring to because Jobs Act. They reuse so many of the names like that. Like I
Mm-hmm.
want to, oh, that Grothman and yeah. So here's the problem, and why things like this sound great until they actually get implemented.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds great. Let's create jobs. Let's
Right.
create manufacturing jobs. I would love to see more manufacturing jobs in
Right.
this area, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is they decided we're gonna put the cart before the horse,
Mm-hmm.
right? So they started tariffing everything. And the idea behind tariffs is to protect local and state, like national interest, right? We want to
Right.
protect a national interest, but it has to exist first. And so
Right.
they thought, oh, people are just going to come over here and move all their businesses here because we threaten them with tariffs. And then they implemented some tariffs. And they didn't seem to realize that even the horribly high tariffs that they put into place, it was still cheaper to not move those businesses because over there, they don't have to pay their workers as much because the government does the healthcare. The government
Mm-hmm.
does a lot of things that the businesses have to provide here. So they actually were like, yeah, we're just going to keep it here. And guess what? They pass those costs onto us.
Yep.
Any tariff is a tax. It's a sales tax on you and me. That's who's paying it. You tried to buy a computer anytime recently? Don't.
And
Don't.
the
It's
thing
insane.
it is. The thing that I don't get is that they make it sound so nice. Like, oh, Create Jobs Act. But I'm like, how we wait, huh? Who's gonna foot the bill on this one? you
Oh, we
know?
are. We are. They
Exactly.
hit
So
it
I'm
both
like,
ways.
why?
They,
I don't know why they like to use smooth words and be, oh, we're gonna create a new job, blah blah blah. Okay, but what does it take though? Like, who's gonna foot the bill on?
they decided that they had to put something in like this, but the problem is that it's almost like they didn't know what actually brings manufacturing in. They could actually easily bring manufacturing in.
Mm-hmm.
They'd have to address, though, the things that manufacturing needs.
Right.
Manufacturing, especially today's manufacturing, needs an educated populace, needs education that is specifically trade unions, also more emphasis on technical education. Like a while back, we had one of the most thriving robotics industries in the world, and we still do. But you ever notice that you want to build something in China? Like, you can find a city that is basically designed to build that product.
Right.
And everything's within like a few miles. They actually worked to see that their manufacturing like infrastructure had investment behind it. We basically are hitting our education because they look at it as, oh, that's the enemy. We don't want an informed populace because then they're not going to be for any of our ideas. So they've been kicking our education system like it's, a stray dog.
Right.
And then they're like, oh, surprise, by the way, we needed that. That's what actually would have brought, if you want to bring a manufacturing presence to this country, you have to make it easy for them to do. And that's not necessarily just selling our soul with like tax incentives, because they tried that. They tried that in Wisconsin. They tried that. We were supposed to have a manufacturing plant for, I think it was for TV screens down in Racine. And they made a big deal. I think Trump and Scott Fitzgerald were there digging their shovel. They've never built a single TV screen there. Not one. They built a building to get the tax incentives, and then they left.
And again, again with this tactic of these soft, sexy words, to entice us. And then we get smacked again in the face. So, and I'm glad you brought up the point about about having that community to support that technical side. Because like our son, he went to NASCAR in Charlotte. He went to the school in Charlotte, and there were like other auto mechanic stuff that had to deal with auto mechanics and other things to support them, to help them, to keep that base thriving. Everybody's helping each other because they're in that same genre, if you will. And I think that makes more sense than just planning a manufacturer there and you can't find no parts to help support.
We as a country could return to being able to. We have the trained technical personnel to do it. But we keep throwing roadblocks up in front of all the people who could help us do so.
Right.
So right now, like in the last, I'm not going to debate whether or not some past trade like treaties were good ideas or not, because honestly, I was a child when they were put into place.
Right.
But our current auto industry is an example. Our current auto industry is really intertwined with Mexico and Canada. Parts come from all over, and jobs are done all over, including in the United States. But when they put that tariff structure in, it basically brought most of that to a halt. I mean, automotive sales, I haven't even looked at buying a car anytime recently because all of a sudden they're like, we don't even know how to plan right now because we don't know what our what our tariff structure is going to be in 5 minutes, let alone 5 months. And you can't build a factory overnight. You can't build a business overnight.
Exactly.
You have to get all of the... I just saw our politicians needs to be engineers instead of CEOs. I would handle them being intelligent CEOs, but these guys haven't built or assembled or brought together anything in their entire lives. They hired someone to do it. And then when they hired that person to do it, they got rid of the competent people and they retained the people who didn't threaten their intelligence.
Exactly.
And so what you've got now is the people who are loyal. Mm-hmm. And that is an abject disaster for America. Our president just went overseas, threatened a NATO ally.
Yes.
And then after threatening a NATO ally, went into a meeting with the head of NATO and came out saying, we have a concept of a plan for a treaty so that we can have access to Greenland.
Yes.
Do you know what gave us access to Greenland? NATO. That in 1952, we've had multiple bases on Greenland soil. They have asked us, you want to come back? Sure, come back. Have a base. Have 10. We don't care. But what they wanted us to do is not threaten to invade them.
Exactly.
Because they took it seriously.
Yes.
They don't look
play.
They don't look at him as the joke he is.
Right.
They look at him as a serious threat.
Yes.
And they're like, why are you threatening the allies that have made America the country that it is?
Yep.
We have been for years able to project power around the world. Why we can do that is we have bases around the world.
Mm-hmm.
But if we don't have those bases around the world, we go from being the country that can just go wherever we want and do whatever we want to a country that has to watch while the rest of the world unites around us.
Exactly. We're isolating ourselves for no reason at all, and we're becoming more of an enemy than an ally.
And what gets me is Congress was supposed to be a check on the president. Glenn Grothman and his Republican colleagues could have at any time said, you know what, we want all this conservative stuff. We want to be, super racist against this group and whatnot. But what you're doing right now is literally destroying America as we know it. And we're not about that. So We're going to check you on that. They haven't. They have completely abandoned their duty to do this because the tariffs are given specifically to Congress, except in the case of an emergency.
Right.
The emergency was Donald Trump doesn't understand how trade works. And he thought that the fact that some places had a trade deficit or a trade surplus with us meant that they were cheating us.
Exactly. So if you have any questions for Mike is saying a whole bunch of educational
I
honestly, the fresh air.
as much as I love talking about all this stuff, because I could talk about it because it's genuinely interesting to me.
Yes.
that we are where we are.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to hear what you have to say and also what you're concerned about.
Exactly.
Because I am not, as much as I am informed on some things, I don't claim to know everything or even be informed on everything that's going on in my own district. Who could? Like, it is miles and miles across. I think I figured it out the other day. It's about a 2.5 hour drive long and about a 2 hour drive tall. So, I mean, You're talking a very big area. I every time I go to one of the live events or talk to people, it's it's always amazing because
Mhm.
I will get a new perspective that I might not have thought of. I'll give you a case in point. This was actually outside of my district. I went to Farm Days up in Wapaka, and that's just north of my district. But a lot of people from my district go to Farm Tech Days
Mhm.
because all the new tractors are coming out. It's like a car show for farmers,
Okay.
and and so all the farm equipment was there. It was actually really fun to go to. It was really interesting, and we went, and I was talking to people, and they were telling me what a disaster. I'm
Mhm.
sorry. I got the 100 duck-sized horses
Yeah,
question.
I was looking at Everett Jones. Behave.
um, I I was being told what tariffs were doing to them,
Mhm.
and I had a guy come in, and we were talking, and he was like saying, "Yeah, I wasn't a huge fan of Biden, but thank God his infrastructure bill got passed before Trump could shut most of it down. Like most
Mm.
of what it was doing in our area got done right away." And I
Mhm.
was like, "Oh, that's cool. What specifically helped you?" He's like, "The internet. We didn't have broadband in our area until they brought it in with investments from that infrastructure bill." And I was like,
Wow.
"Oh, this was right after COVID. So this was when I was like, oh, so your kids could, go to school and
Right,
be
right,
able to be home and while we were all trying to be home at the same time kind of
right,
thing."
right.
He's like, no, no, so I could farm. I was like, I mean, I farmed before, not I didn't own the farm. I baled hay. I tossed hay up into a wagon because I was big enough to do that at 12.
Mm-hmm.
And so my school bus driver had me tossing hay all day. It's when I found out I'm allergic to hay.
Oh, wow.
Oh, it was horrible.
I
But
bet.
I I I was like, what does that have to do with, like, I really didn't understand.
Right. Yep.
He's like, look around. Look at all that fancy equipment. You can't run a single damn one of them without a Wi-Fi
That's
connection.
right. Yep.
If you want to farm, if you want to plant a field, you do that, and the tractor gets information from your main server, and it determines by the foot how much fertilizer to put on,
Yep.
how much seed to plant, where to plant, when to plant.
Yep.
And I
It
was
blew
sitting
your
there going,
mind, didn't it?
"Oh crap, you really can't." It's not most of
Right.
the farmers I knew, and I should have put it together. They were all into that really old equipment. They
Yep.
were all into that really. I want to address Wisconsin Rebuild. I will address that in a second. I wanted to see more details on what you were trying to ask. But it was because all the new equipment requires an internet connection, and in a lot of rural places they didn't have it. So I really, it's something I want to see, an investment in our infrastructure, because that is going to be the thing that will make the difference between our people actually, you know, actually being able to farm their farms,
Mhm.
do their business, do whatever it is. If they don't have the infrastructure to do it, and they won't be able to. And I saw a question that I'm really looking forward to because, yeah, I have a lot of thoughts on how to strengthen unions.
Yeah.
But um, do you want to go to the question they kept repeating in the chat about
Yeah.
the?
Well,
It's up
before
to
we,
you, Adam.
okay, well, before we do that, if you have any questions, and thank you so much for the question, keep them coming, but we have to do it within that category so we won't be all over the place. Okay, so put a pin in
And
that.
I do have to apologize. I do
Yeah,
tend to be all over the place because it all connects.
yes,
Like
it
when
does.
we were questioning one of the people earlier. I was trying so hard not to just type into the
Yeah, you good,
chat,
Wisconsin. You good.
hey, like that connects here
Yes,
because if you're talking about healthcare and you're talking about
which is up
people's
next.
jobs and you're talking about it all connects with affordability. It
Yep,
all connects on people able to be mobile job wise so that
right.
they actually can get a better job. And
Absolutely.
that's the kind of thing that builds a community.
So especially the community because they're like there's a VA community there in your district, correct?
I'm sorry, there's a what?
VA community, Veterans Affairs.
Oh yeah, we've got the main VA hospital is down in Madison, and
Mm-hmm.
there's quite a few veterans who live in my community, and I mean, I think there is a VFW post in almost every town, and it is a very active that I became more a part of because when my daughter went into ROTC,
Mm-hmm.
she convinced me to come along when they did. Actually, I did volunteer. I said, yeah, I'll do it. But they were doing a ruck for Operation. I have the shirt somewhere. It's Operation. It was Ruck 22, and it was basically at the time there were 22 service members committing suicide daily,
Mm-hmm.
and they were saying, that's ridiculous. We need to actually do something about this, and they did. They have been that operation that it was now it's an 18-kilometer ruck because
Mm-hmm.
they've brought it down from 22 to 18, and they're working all the time to do that. But to do that, you have to allocate resources. You have to create programs that help mitigate that help provide the mental health resources that vets need. And it's not just like the kind of mental health resources that you or I would need, but mental health resources specific to someone coming back from a conflict. That is way different than the average person's, concerns
Mm-hmm.
and strategies. And so they actually have been making an impact, and they're continuing to do so. And I was really happy to go do that ruck with her because it meant something. It meant that more people that are you a veteran? Someone said in the comments you are a veteran.
Yes, I am a veteran.
Well,
Exactly.
it meant something to me because it was something I could do to help.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't look at that lightly. But
Mm-hmm.
I also don't look at that lightly for anyone in my constituency. Like veterans just have a specialized need that they really need addressed. But these are needs that are not addressed for a lot of my constituents.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's so many people, especially now, that are not getting the healthcare they need, that their healthcare goes up every year.
Yep.
And these are areas we need to address. And it's why I'm running for Congress. But
And I
yeah,
truly
I
thank
saw it.
you.
I saw it. I was like, that doesn't surprise me. I can see that. I can see that.
Yes, because I am for the veterans. I am. My husband is still in. He's retiring this year in November, God willing. Um,
Congratulations.
Thank you. And how should Congress fix the delays and confusion in the VA community care program? Because the way things are going now, it's like we can't have nothing. It seems like it has to be fair game for everybody. It has to be what's the name I'm looking for? I can't think of the name right now, but I think you know what I mean. Where it could be like military staff instead of having the civilian, and we would appreciate the civilian staff, but it seems like the outside is getting more money, out of it. I'm trying to think of the word right now. If the chat can help me with that word, but I can't think of it right now. But what can Congress do to fix those delays and the confusion of the VA community care?
So a lot of it has to do with resources, has to do with allocation of resources, and basically their total decision to cut resources. Like you can't have timely care if you cut most of the mental health care and a good portion of the doctor care. You cut the resources, it's going to increase the wait times. And that's what it comes down to. It's not there's some bureaucratic problems involved. There always are. Anything to do with a big organization is going to have bureaucratic difficulties. But this is pretty straightforward. They decided they wanted to move money from things like the VA to things like tax cuts. And they aimed those tax cuts at people who never served in the military.
Right.
Would never even think of serving in the military.
Right.
That's who got those tax cuts. That's where that money went. And I mean that's easy to see. You can watch what they did, and the big beautiful bill for billionaires that they passed, that's what they did, and that's where that money went. So just bring the resources back. It wouldn't be that hard.
Exactly.
Like you guys had actual good programs. They were making real concrete improvements. I think that I don't even remember the margin, but I just remember it was amazing. They made an actual real dent in veterans' homelessness rates because they put the resources in, they kept the resources engaged, and they actually said, this is a priority. We need to get this done. And guess what? It worked.
Yes.
And then the funding got stripped.
Practically got gutted,
Yeah.
It's really sad. And not only just on the veteran side, but even on the civilian side. So given the rural hospital closures and OB/GYN services, in desert places, how will you expand access to OB/GYN and women's health care in rural areas? I know y'all got a lot of rural areas up there in your district.
Oh yeah. Pretty much I have to drive at least 30 minutes to get to a hospital.
That's crazy.
I don't have a hospital within 30 minutes of my house.
Wow.
I don't have an urgent care. The nearest hospital and urgent care, I either drive to Portage or I drive to Madison. They're about equidistant in terms of getting to them. I can get to the east side of Madison at about the same time. And so no matter what, I'm driving pretty far. Well, I honestly, sometimes I have a hard time understanding how someone could be this damn stupid, because they knew, they had to know, they had to have been told, even if they weren't intelligent enough to figure it out themselves, that if you cut all of the funding to various people who then are the ones going to those hospitals, I'll equate it to a restaurant. If I told you your restaurant had a bunch of people coming in and they were coupon customers, but they came to the restaurant. If you came in and say 40% of those customers were told, yeah, you know what? We can't afford your coupons anymore. And
That's
so they
crazy.
all stopped coming.
Yeah.
Do you think that restaurant's going to be open the next day?
No.
Well, guess what? Hospitals have been operating in the red for years, literal years. Most of them were already on a knife's edge. And I'm not even talking because they were being gouged. I'm just talking because of the way our country has moved towards reimbursement from insurance. most of them aren't getting paid a lot of the time.
Right.
So I'll give you a case in point that was personal for me because it really sucked. I went to a hospital with my daughter, and we had to get transferred to another hospital because they didn't have whatever doctor they needed at that hospital, right? It was across the road. It was literally like it was St. Mary's to UW. And St. Mary's said, we need to transport her by ambulance because we gave her a drug and we have to monitor her. And I was like, I can just drive her. It's literally right there.
Mhm.
And they said, no, because we gave her something, we have to transport her.
Right.
I was like, all right, that's fine. But I mean, I've heard horror stories about people being transported by ambulance. And they're like, no, because we insisted on doing it, it's covered. I trusted them. I believed that was going to happen. We got to UW. The care at these hospitals is amazing. Like, I have great hospitals in my area. I love all three of the hospitals down in Madison. They are awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And we got done. Everyone was okay. We got home, and I thought nothing of it. Didn't see anything for the longest time because they were trying to bill me at a place I hadn't lived in probably 10 years.
Wow.
And no longer had mail forwarding for, because what they did was that ambulance ride was $1,700. And so
The court watch the dang on street.
literally like across the street and up a hill. It's you can almost, if it weren't for the trees and buildings, you could see it from one to the other.
That's crazy.
And I was like, wait, but this shouldn't have even been charged
Right.
at all. And evidently that somehow slipped through the cracks. And so I had to pay that years later because it had been charged off. Someone bought it. We've created a system where most of the people declaring bankruptcy in the United States are declaring bankruptcy because of medical debt. And the reason why is because you and I, for our health, for our housing, for every part of it, you and I are being profited off of.
Oh gosh, yes.
We're being profited off of by a large corporation that basically creates rules that make it as difficult as possible for people to live, for people to be able to raise themselves up from whatever they are. And so I tell people, look, I don't have a problem with making money. I don't think the things that keep you alive should be one of those things we make money off of. Because the impetus, the profit motive is to give bad care, is to give the cheapest, fastest care you can give, because that's what's going to make them money. And you don't have a choice. I don't have a choice. If my daughter or my wife has an asthma attack, I have to be able to afford that inhaler. And I have decent insurance, right? So I have decent insurance. It's still crazy expensive for me.
Oh yeah.
I can't even imagine what it's like for someone who doesn't have decent insurance.
Absolutely.
So it's one of the primary reasons I have been, since the beginning, since like before the Affordable Care Act was even a pipe dream from a junior senator, I have been for universal health care, for single payer universal health care, because it's not about, people are like, oh, the government will make it so expensive. And it's like, no. When it's the government's job to do, they don't have to make a profit. They don't have to continually increase the amount of money they extract from you. Their job is to do it as well as they possibly can and negotiate with the people who have been overcharging us for generations for our health care. That is not your doctors, by the
Right.
way. That is the people supplying the drugs, the companies that have been basically creating a predatory, like, I equate it to payday loans, how they're running their finance departments now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's insane. It needs to stop. And I think we're finally at the point where people are sick of it enough that they want to stop it. And they want to say, no, we can do better than this. And we should do better than this. We deserve better than this.
Absolutely. Thank you for that response. If you have any questions to Mike about healthcare, you can put in the chat or you can come up. He does not bite. I'm still
I
here. He doesn't
promise
bite.
I genuinely enjoy talking to people from my district. And even if you're not in my district, you can still ask me a question. And
Absolutely.
I honestly, it's not just me learning, it's also an opportunity to find out new things. I might not know something about an area that you're an expert in. I would love to hear from you. Like, I genuinely get an education almost every time I talk to someone because everyone's at least knowledgeable about something. And it might be something that we can use to make this country better. And that's what we're here to do.
Absolutely. We're going to go on to public education. Okay, so from Wisconsin we build, who would be the primary benefactors of universal health care?
Us. That's it. That us, as human beings, we would be the primary benefactors because there would no longer be the profit motive to give us crappy care. So instead of waiting until it gets to a hospital where it's going to cost an arm and a leg, and instead of trying every single bad therapy type so that they can try the cheap types first, which they know don't work, you can just use what works. You can just actually treat someone the way they're supposed to be treated. Doctors will again be in charge of the care instead of some doctor who maybe practiced for a year and then retired to the insurance industry. They've been setting the rules because they're basically paying keep away with doctors. They're making doctors come out of going into surgeries to defend their patients' care. I have seen TikTok videos on this. I didn't even know how bad it was. And I've talked to quite a few doctors because we had friends, or my wife for a while worked at a hospital, and like I know quite a few doctors, and they've been complaining about this forever. The insurance industry has told us that they are making everything better and that they're trying to help us. And what has ended up happening is we basically created a way to bankrupt us all. And I think this needs to stop. We have the ability to negotiate. Think like a union. A union negotiates not as one person, but as the entire union, negotiating a better contract because it's all of us. Imagine all of us as a nation negotiating with an insurance or negotiating with a drug company and saying, yeah, you're not charging that much for that inhaler. It doesn't cost you near that much to do it. You're not gouging people anymore.
Right.
They're not going to be able to say anything because it's the entire damn nation. And that's always been, yeah, Terry, it's been an issue for as long as I can imagine. I don't think there's a single person who can say they haven't been affected by this, who hasn't seen their doctors sitting there struggling, trying to figure out how to push through the treatment they know we need. They know how to treat us. These are high quality professional doctors who often are saying, yeah, I don't want to deal with this crap anymore. I just wanted to treat patients. I didn't want to be, a middleman in how can I gouge my patients today.
Right. Absolutely. We're going to go on to public education. So many Wisconsin school districts are considering consolidating due to declining enrollment. I was really shocked to hear about this. And what federal policies or what state policies would you support to stabilize communities and keep schools open?
So a lot of it isn't just declining enrollment, it's that we've had how much funding they get from the state frozen since 1994. After that, everything, you ever notice how almost every year you'll hear, oh, they're doing another school funding referendum.
Mm-hmm.
That's their funding. That's just their basic funding. Because instead of having their school funding go up and down based on, inflation, which hasn't
Mm-hmm.
exactly kept, pace since 1994, I was 14 then.
Good
You
Lord.
know, it's a little different now. You can't get a $2 burger anymore, man.
Oh no, those days are over. Those
Exactly,
days are
but
over.
they're still planning paying teachers like it's 1994, and even
Right.
then they were making nothing. Even then, you had to basically be either married to someone who could support you,
Mm-hmm.
or independently wealthy, or planning on being poor your entire life. That's the kind of system we've set up, and it again is just about funding. It's not, people are always complaining about their property taxes, right? Our property taxes keep going up. It's normally because of education. It's because instead of being funded by income taxes, which it was,
Mm-hmm.
and that goes all the way up to college, it was about 70-30 funded by tuition and income taxes. Now, I'm not sure of the exact breakdown this year, but it is way more funded by property taxes in the local areas, which means if you've got a very spread out rural area, you can't necessarily afford to send all those kids to a school because they're very spread out.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, you were talking about them declining. There's no jobs. There's no jobs out there. So people aren't living there. So their
Mm-hmm.
kids aren't there because they aren't there. That's what's happening in our rural areas is we stop making it an ability for people to live there because we took away all the things that let them. We've taken away the access to health care because the hospitals are closing. We've taken away their ability to get a job because we've told people they had to return to the office after they set up a life in some rural town, being like, hey, this is great. I can work from home. And then they're told, no, you got to move back. And that happened a lot. There were a
Wow.
lot of people who were remoting in, and because now we actually invested in infrastructure for the first time in a while. And it showed. That's what brings jobs is when you invest in infrastructure, when you invest in education, jobs follow because you can create the workers who will be able to work those jobs.
Right. Absolutely. And speaking of, I'm gonna like do a conduit to public safety and immigration because speaking of jobs, um, given that Wisconsin's agricultural workforce relies on immigrant labor,
Mm-hmm.
what immigration policies would you support to stabilize farm jobs and public safety?
So, for years, and I'm not going to even claim that my party has done the best on this. I don't think any party has done really well on immigration. But what we've seen since Donald Trump took his second term in office has been the destruction of the immigrant community, but also like a real scouring of a lot of these people who thought, oh, he's not going to do this to us. He's not
Hmm.
going to hurt us.
Right.
And then he started to because I guess they didn't think they'd come for farmhands who by the way are most of the time here legally. Like they have visas specifically for being farmhands. Like it's not like they weren't here legally. But one of the effects of Donald Trump's policies, and by extension Glenn Grothman, he's been one of Trump's biggest enablers. Trump says jump, he says how high. And one of the effects of those policies is more and more immigrants who were trying to follow the legal route. They'd be given court dates that were after their visas would expire. And it's like, do you stay in the country illegally? Right. Or do you go back to a country where you were trying to escape because you were afraid for your life and then potentially die? I mean, what do? You stay here, right? You're doing the thing you're supposed to do. They arrested a freaking judge because she was trying to, do her courtroom activities as she was supposed to be doing. Right. Everyone in there was doing what they were supposed to be doing, and they sent in people to courtrooms. So I got a question. How is that illegal? If they're in a courtroom, they're obviously trying to follow the legal immigration policies as set. As bad as they are, as stupid and slow and poorly managed as they are, they're trying to follow it. So how are those people illegal immigrants? The answer is they're not. The answer is they ran out of illegal immigrants. I mean, obviously not all of them, but they mostly ran out of illegal immigrants a long time ago, at least the ones they were going to ever find. And now they've set up an entire system to basically kidnap people and shuttle them out of the country, and they don't have anyone left to kidnap. And that's why the people in ICE custody right now, I've seen reports that it's 75% legal and American citizens.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yes.
They basically set up a private prison system.
Yes.
For profit, by the way.
Yes. In order to,
I guess they thought they would have an unlimited, I guess they believed they were high on their own supply. They believed that there were really that many illegal immigrants in this country. And everyone's looking around like, yo, I don't know where you're talking about, but if there were that many illegal immigrants, we'd see some. And we're not. We're seeing, you'll see maybe one. And it's like, okay, well, what about him? Well, he's here on a visa. Or what about him? He's lived here his entire life. His family's been here longer than yours. And that's kind of the effect we're getting, is they set up something that doesn't have an end, that doesn't have okay, we're just going to stop, shipping people to another country that they've never even been to before. That's going to put them in prisons that would make certain people I can't mention on TikTok blush. I mean, this is what the America that we live in is doing. And we're going to have to deal with that. It's one of the reasons why I'm running. Because
absolutely.
This isn't just a scary moral quandary. This is an existential threat to us as a country. Ask some Germans from the late 19th century what it was like talking to people from other countries after World War II. Ask some Germans sometime, and they'll tell you that it was like people looked at you like you were a secret monster. Because they couldn't understand, they could not comprehend how a people that had Mozart and all these beautiful things could do something like that. We're watching how a people could do something like that in the early stages. And it is up to us to stop it. Because
Absolutely.
there is no one else.
And it isn't. And so, what is your view on local law enforcement participating in federal immigration enforcement partnerships, and how should community trust factor into that decision?
Most of the sheriffs who entered into that agreement did so either after saying they weren't going to and then doing it anyway, or believing that, oh, no one's going to bother me about it. Some of them are right. Some of them, they probably weren't expecting as much pushback as they got. But I see a lot of signs out in very conservative areas. Back the blue, right? That's the signs. And then I watched, I want to say 20 police chiefs from Minnesota the other day being like, yeah, this is not law enforcement. These are people we would have arrested a few years ago that were given a badge and a gun and told to go strike fear into the heart of a community. This is not law enforcement. They're not going after criminals. They've actually pulled 25% of DEA and FBI resources off of actual criminal cases because they needed to shuffle them to ICE because they don't have enough people. Who wants to be associated with ICE? I mean, legitimately, would you want to be associated with an organization that's looked at like the SS? So they can't fill out their numbers. They're having a giant recruitment problem. So where did they pull those people from? Drug Enforcement Agency and the FBI.
We're gonna say the letter agency because we don't want to get the live taken down for TikTok reasons.
Oh, I didn't know that one was against the law.
So let's say the alphabet people.
Basically, yeah, they pulled them from every alphabet organization that you can think of because it's the only place that they could pull them from. And I guess they're just thinking, oh, no one's going to notice. I guess they're thinking that they can just fool their base into believing this. And I don't think they realize just how disconnected a lot of people have become from politics because they don't believe there's any way for them to actually affect it.
Right.
So I want to tell you right now, anyone out there, you might believe that politics is something you can't affect. But that only goes on as long as someone like me doesn't get into office. That only goes on as long as they are allowed to keep their cushy jobs with their donations coming into them from corporate coffers. That only goes on when they can continue to be in power. You take them out of power, you're going to affect things.
Absolutely.
Because I'm not going into Congress to have a cushy job. I probably make more money at my union job. But what I do know is that I want to get in there and make some structural changes because otherwise this country is not going to continue. You cannot have a country structured to giving all the money to just a few people and expect the rest of us to survive off scraps. We just can't.
Absolutely.
And we're seeing the effects daily. So I could talk about this all night, but I genuinely would love to see anyone in the comments. I want to answer your questions, and I also want to talk about what you're concerned about, because we can talk about this all we want, but unless we can do something about it, unless we can get someone into office, and I'm running to do it, but it's not just me. One of the reasons why I've been in your comments section and talking to these people is because we need people across the country. It has to be a wave. It has to be
absolutely
a removal of people who have been sitting there taking corporate money to profit off of their constituents, because that's what's been happening.
Absolutely.
And that's why I'm trying to scout my new coworkers. And you know what? I'm seeing a lot of people that I respect the hell out of, that I genuinely would like to see in office. So I really, really would love to hear any of you in the comments. You got something to say? I want to hear from you. Whatever it's about, like, let's talk about it, because that's really why we do these things, is so people can actually bring up what they're concerned about.
Absolutely. Since, oh man, it's like 9:31. So I'm gonna do a quick rapid fire, a fun one. I want to do a political one, but I know we didn't have so much time. The conversation was so interesting. So cheese, okay, so cheese curds. I can't do it. Is
Aw.
cheese curds fried or fresh?
Ooh, depends on the day, but if you have some good if you have some good fresh ones, they're amazing. But I'd say for you, probably do some fried ones, because I think if you keep them small and you get some good dipping sauce, and you'll be okay. I think fresh cheese curds might be a little, yeah. If you're gagging off just the thought of that, then probably not. I can do both, man. I love cheese curds.
My coworker gave me one, and nah. And that was in Minnesota. No.
I'm so happy Culver's is spreading around the nation.
Yeah, we have Culver's here in North Carolina, and when they say cheese curd, no.
I love Culver's, man. One of the original Culver's is over Sauk Prairie area. I can't remember which town it's in, but I passed through it like 100 times. But I was like, oh yeah, that's the original one. And they've got it's just a decent fast food place, where a lot of fast food places before that were not really that great.
Oh, Missy, that's great. Oh, okay. Melanie, how you doing?
They're not that bad, Sianca. It's just cheese.
It's just cheese.
It's just cheese.
It's really good.
I came up because you asked a very pointed question. You said you wanted to hear from the people. What are we concerned about? I know for us, those associated with our vote counts, which is why we decided to do this, our concern is people getting out to vote. How can we motivate people? I mean, that's really where we need to get our heads wrapped around. Most people have picked a side at this point in what they're seeing. They either are good with what's going on over there or they're not, right? So most people have picked a side. So it's not about like getting them to vote Democrat or getting them to vote Republican. It's just getting them to vote. How do we get people? There was 89 million people that did not vote in the big test.
And that was considered a good election.
Right.
That was considered like a decent turnout.
How do we get it down to 20 million? I know everybody ain't gonna make it. How do we get it down to 20 million? That's what my concern is.
So I'm going to approach it two ways. So a lot of it is, we've been throwing and not anyone in this room, but specifically the Republicans have been throwing every roadblock they can think into making it difficult to vote, because they know the more people who vote, the more they lose.
Yep.
Because the average person is not benefiting by their policies. So the average person needs to be excluded as much as they can make it happen. And so they're throwing up roadblocks left and right. And there's a bunch of different ways we can address it, but it has to come down to the federal and state level. We have to strengthen people's ability to actually get to the polls. Right. I would definitely say one way we could do it would be make it a government holiday. Make it a government holiday that you can actually go vote. That you have a day, just a voting day. There you go, one voting day.
Yeah.
You could make it on any holiday you wanted, but just a day that you were pretty guaranteed to get off of work or be able to get off of work. And before someone says, oh, you can already get off of work, let me tell you, it's pretty damn difficult to get off of work just to go vote. It is. It's not just something people are like, oh yeah, I know it's the law, but we're busy today. And then you got the fact that a lot of people can't afford to take off of work to go do that.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, that's removing obstacles. I think we need a new, at the federal level, we need a new Voting Rights Act that is the right to vote without impotence, without anything stopping you from voting. That's one part. But the other part is both more powerful and more subtle. And that is, no one feels like they have a stake. And they don't feel like they have a stake because when was the last time they were able to affect an election?
Right.
Since the Citizens United decision, money has flooded into politics like a wave.
And this is what I was just about to say, Mike, that, you know, we hear a lot from you candidates get money out of politics. I think we should keep money in politics, but this is where we put the money. We give it to the voters. You get some sort of incentive for coming to vote. That's where we could I'm just saying, like, if we I know what y'all mean by get the money out of the politics, like everybody, but if you was told you would get a $10 gift card or whatever to when you came to vote, and we make it legal to do. At this point, that's illegal, right? But we make it legal to do.
It is illegal.
More people will show up to get that $10 gift card. I promise you that.
Oh, yeah.
Money motivates people.
It does. But I think the biggest detractor from it is they don't see a point. They don't see a point. The people I'm talking about are not people like you and me who are like, okay, this is the fight of our lives. We have to get in this.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the average person who may not pay attention to the news, who may not be aware of everything going on that makes it feel like we're in the fight of our lives in the background. They may not be aware of it. For them, they're trying to exist. And so to them, why should they take time off of work that's going to make their life more difficult to do something that they don't feel like is going to make a difference?
Right.
And that I think getting people to buy back into the idea that their vote actually matters is probably one of the biggest things we could do to change this country.
It's the biggest hurdle.
The only way we can do it is to actually start aiming legislation to help people. And I don't know any other way to do that other than electing an absolute tidal wave of working class progressive Democrats or working class progressive independents if we can't get a Democrat into that area. Like, there's been a lot of areas where Democrats aren't even bothering to run because they don't think they have a chance. So, okay, take the D off his name. If he's doing everything else and is caucusing with us, I don't really care. I just, we're at the point where we have to start making laws that benefit the average person, or more people are going to check out of this system, not take part in it, and eventually it will get so top heavy that people will start to not want it taking all their money anymore. And
maybe we could do election parades.
Well, you got so many ideas.
We could do election parades. Like, everyone loves the parade. So with the floats coming down, and they have your representatives on it and people running, and then they have all of these voter registration booths. I don't know. That's what I'm worried about.
Do you know the only time I've ever seen Glenn Grothman in my entire life was at a parade?
Wow.
He was marching in front of me, and I was marching behind him carrying the American flag for the campaign that I was working on for my neighbor who's a state senator now.
Mm.
And I was carrying the American flag for her float, and Glenn Grothman was in front of me. Someone had to point him out to me. I had no idea what he looked like. I'd never seen him before. I'd never even heard his name. And it wasn't just because I didn't vote for him. It was because he really does not. He goes
Show
to
up.
very specific areas, and he'll show up if there's food. That's the joke, is if there's food, he'll definitely show up.
Oh,
But
wow.
All right.
it's a long running joke in the area, and it's like, that's great, but we want you to show up and talk to the people and actually explain, why did I do this? Why did you do this? Why did you vote for that legislation that is gutting our health care? Or
Right.
why did you vote for that? And of course he doesn't want to do that. He just wants to get a photo op and get out. I
Right.
don't
Mike,
want to be that kind of guy.
we are way over time, and I know I didn't came up here and made it even worse. But I just wanted to tell you that's really what's on our mind, at least us who care, that we want to get have the biggest midterm elections ever, and that is our goal. So you keep
Get
helping
out,
us do that.
talk to people.
Yes.
Get out and
we
talk
will.
to people. That's what I'm going to be doing. That's what everyone's got it. That is everyone out there. You want an election that actually has consequences? Get out and talk to your neighbors, your friends, your family, and say, this isn't something you can avoid anymore.
Right.
We have to do this, and we have to solve this right the hell now.
Amen. Thank you, Steve. I see you.
All right.
Get us out of here.
Okay.
Anyone who I didn't answer questions in the comments, I'm always happy to talk to you outside of this. I'll be holding a lot of town halls. I'll try and come back to places like this a lot. And I'm more than happy to discuss anything you want to discuss. I know there were people who were asking some questions that we didn't get to. I'm sorry. You pressed a lot of my passionate buttons. And so I was like, I really... genuinely, when it affects all of our lives, this is my family's life. This is my kid's life. These are the things that will determine whether we're going to be okay.
Yep.
And whether my family's going to be okay. So yeah, I'm pretty freaking passionate about it.
And you're supposed to be. You are supposed to
Exactly.
be. Mike,
Exactly.
I thank you so much. Where can I reach you? What's your background? It says www.
So-
You still tall. So you go ahead and say. All right, you see www. Heidenreich, right? Heidenreich.
Heidenreich. Yep.
Heidenreich.
Heidenreich.
All
Yep.
right.
I live in Lodi.
forcongress.com.
Yep.
Go ahead.
And you can go there. The very first button on the screen is to donate. It goes right to my ActBlue account. You do not need to donate a lot. But if you want a candidate who's not bought and paid for, you donating is the only way it happens. Because literally there's no other sources of funding.
Right.
Like my opponent has like 3 million in the bank. So the only way I'm going to be able to get what we're talking about out is to have people volunteer to carry that message and people donate so that I can have the mechanisms to carry that message. Thank you, Philippe.
Absolutely.
Philippe's an awesome volunteer who has been out in some of the coldest weather I care to imagine, and he's been shivering his way through volunteering for
Wow.
a bunch of candidates.
That's
so
awesome.
if you ever want to see someone who takes his duty to this country responsible, that guy right there does.
That's awesome. Thank you for the shout out for Philippe. All right, that's awesome. So thank you, Mike, once again for coming on tonight. We have another upcoming town hall coming up soon, and we would like for you to join. Let me see.
Did you say February 1st?
We have on January 23rd. So
January
I
23rd?
can't see. Is it 5 o'clock?
Yeah, I should be able to
5
be
o'clock.
there.
Eastern. Edwina English, and she is running for House Representative in District 5 in Maryland. Cool. And then we have Aaron Haleso in Iowa, the state of Ohio. Iowa, can't pronounce it, but House District 46.
So she's a state level politician down in Iowa, and then Eldwina
English, yes.
Eldwina English is
Yes.
running in Maryland. Okay.
Yes.
Well,
So,
I would definitely check them out.
yes. Thank you so much. I'm so tongue-tied tonight. So thank you so much, Mike, once again. Thank you, audience. Thank you, OVC. Thank you for the questions, the gifts, the likes, the love, the shares, everything. Thank you so much. So our vote counts. If you don't know, OVC, a nonpartisan movement, uniting Americans from all walks of life to empower voters, support candidates of integrity like Mike here, and ensure every voice is heard. Through education, outreach, accountability, and action, we're building a stronger democracy, people, one informed vote at a time. So join us, and remember, your vote is your power. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, OVC. Thank you, everybody. You all be safe out there with this upcoming storm coming up. Please be safe. Please be warm. Please supply yourselves. Please take precaution, people. Please.
People who are down in the areas that are about to get ice, respect that.
Exactly.
The last time we had actual, like, real problems up here was half an inch of ice. There's some people in Texas who are due between 1 and 3 inches of ice. It is impassable. Don't try it.
Right.
I don't care what you've got on your tires. Don't. Just don't.
Exactly.
Stay home.
Don't. Exactly. Thank you so much, Mike. Thank you, everybody. You all have a blessed night. Have a good